Are we ready to dive in? I think we are. Today, we're really going to get into the nitty-gritty of the 3 most common health beliefs that we have internalized. You may not even know that you have internalized these beliefs because they kind of run deep into our culture and our society, and it's time to start questioning them, especially in this new wave of chronic immune illness that we're seeing. If you are new here, hello, my name is Lauryn. I'm the host behind your Learn with Lo series that we do every single Monday, and I love to bring you guys the most relevant health topics, and I tend to speak a lot about some of the fringe and kind of out there topics that you may not hear elsewhere. So if you're new here, welcome. Last week, if you missed our episode, definitely go back and check that out because I talked about this new rebrand that we're seeing, this rebrand in the world of conventional healthcare and understanding that this new wave of chronic illness that we're seeing kind of used to be a little bit more dedicated and understood around, your lifestyle conditions, your high blood pressure, your high cholesterol, your insulin resistance, your type 2 diabetes picture. Like that's what we have always known. I would say for the collective part of kind of the last 20 to 30 to 40 years in our healthcare system has very much been around treating and even trying to prevent and manage really more of those lifestyle related conditions that fall under this umbrella called metabolic syndrome, right? We think of high triglycerides, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, midsection adiposity or being overweight, as well as coupling it with things like type 2 diabetes, high blood sugar, or insulin resistance kind of patterns, right? And not saying that, like I said, that those patterns don't still exist in our world. They very much exist in our world. But I think what we're actually seeing, and something that's a little bit even more alarming, is the trend, this new trend of chronic illness is truly being redefined. And that something deeper is honestly very misunderstood. And it's something that I see in my clinic and practice all the time. And I have seen then by talking to individuals in my clinic and practice how unprepared conventional medicine really is for this new wave of chronic illness in the form of immune dysregulation. So we really exposed a lot how this new wave of chronic illness is going to require a new set of care, a new set of treatment programs, a new set of really just a new toolbox in general, because it's a whole new understanding than really our thought process around metabolic syndrome. So today I want to take this conversation even a little bit layer deeper, because it's not just this system that's outdated, and it's not just more of a conventional or Western system that's not prepared for this new wave of chronic illness. It's also us as a patient population trying to navigate this new wave of chronic illness. We don't even know that we have internalized certain beliefs that actually aren't true, and certain myths around this that aren't serving us anymore, especially in this new wave of chronic illness epidemic that's coming through. Because whether you believe, like I said, in more of the mind-body medicine or not, we have to understand that at our core, at the neuroscience level, the beliefs that we have are going to create your health. They signal dysfunction, and the beliefs that we hold also tell us what success looks like, okay? So they set up our expectations. They set up like, are we disappointed, or do we feel like we actually received good, high quality care, right? So let's just give an example here, because I'm talking a little bit into some of the neuroscience here. If we have a belief that good quality care is going into a provider or a practitioner, talking to them for anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes and leaving with a prescription, and you feel like, oh, I just got the greatest care. Like they actually listened to me. They, gave me a solution for my problems, right? And so we're under the belief then that we got great care. But what if your success marker actually looks like, no, I want a provider that's going to run labs, that is going to look at like, why is this happening, is going to look at how all of my symptoms are connected together, and also a provider that's not just every time I go in going to give me like a new prescription or another supplement to combat these symptoms. Like I want someone that's going to zoom out and look at the whole picture and put all of the pieces together and help me understand all of the different treatment options, not just prescriptions or more supplements, right? And if that is your belief about good quality care, then you go into that exact same experience as someone else and they leave happy as a clam and you leave disappointed. Right? So our beliefs shape what success looks like to us. And based off what success looks like to you, then determines your overall health trajectory, because one person may not even realize that, oh yeah, you know what, every year I do go in and I'm constantly just put on more and more prescription medications, but no one's ever talked to me about how the whole picture fits together. So they didn't even have a marker or a metric that they were getting like incomplete care. Okay. So today's episode, what I really want to dive into, I know that was a little bit of a tangent, but I think it will help set up a little bit of a nugget for where we are realizing now some of these belief systems that we've internalized through just generations of a certain healthcare experience or years of having a certain metric or marker of what is defined as healthy. I'm sorry, but if you haven't realized it yet, we are having to turn that all on its head. Okay, we are having to redefine these terms of healthy, and we're having to redefine the terms of honestly even things like healthcare, because we're dealing with a broken healthcare system, and we're dealing with kind of a dangerous set of outdated beliefs as a result of that system. And now those beliefs are shaping how our symptoms are labeled. They're shaping how our care is given. They're shaping how men and women everywhere are being left behind by this new wave of chronic immune dysfunction, because they're still getting treated like the classic metabolic syndrome. And that's just not the new wave that we're seeing these days. So I want to really make sure that we're calling out today what I feel like are the three most outdated health beliefs, misleading health beliefs that are doing us more harm than good, and to show you really what your care actually should look like when it follows more of your physiology and doesn't just follow big pharma. Okay. So what I want to say here is at the top of these lies is keeping thousands and thousands of people sick, okay? Because they don't know that there's more care available. They don't know that there's better tools available. And quite frankly, they don't even know that their outdated beliefs are keeping them stuck in the same system over and over again and expecting different results, but they're not getting different results. So this episode, I hope today, is going to help you see that these blind spots that we have are actually sabotaging our immune health and our hormones and your ultimate healing trajectory. So let's really start at the top here with what I would call, it's hard to even know what to call these. I'm like, do I call them myths? Do I call them lies? Do I call them outdated belief systems? However you want to shake it. The part one, lie number one, that I feel like we have got to get out of our healthcare system and we have got to flip on its head is that weight loss equals health. You guys know that it exists. We all have lived it time and time again, but I don't think a lot of people really truly realize how pervasive this belief system is, and how this belief system in the mindset of so many of our conventional wellness practitioners out there is keeping people stuck, because they're constantly being told that their health conditions are a result of their weight. Not true. Let's just dispel that right here, right now, okay? Because that maybe was more of like the classic system, right? If you're going to treat everybody as like metabolic syndrome, every symptom that someone walks in with, oh, you're anxious, oh, it's just because you're overweight, or like, oh, I have debilitating gut issues. It's like, wow, have you tried losing weight? Or I'm struggling with migraines, or I have skin issues, and they're like, maybe you just need to eat less, move more. It's like, this is so pervasive that I see people time and time again that are leaving these conventional wellness practitioners' offices and getting some version. It's hidden in a lot of different equations, but they're leaving with some version of, if you were to lose weight or if you were to take better care of yourself, you would not have XYZ symptom, right? And usually it's the complete opposite. It's the other way around. If someone is uncomfortable in the skin that they're in, if they feel like they're carrying excessive amounts of body fat percentage or excessive weight, it's because of their internal health is driving that outcome. Not that if they lose weight, it's going to make them healthier. It's like, no, we have to get you healthier first, and then your body will lose weight, right? Why are we mixing that up? And why are we putting these thoughts into people's heads that by forcing their body to lose weight, that they'll somehow healthier? We are seeing this time and time again in this whole like appetite suppressants, GLP-1s, weight loss medications. I know that there's a lot of success stories out there of individuals using them, and I am not anti-medication at all, but I think this is one of the ways that we are seeing this like weight equals health myth really embed itself very, very deep into our medical healthcare system, and it's getting real bad. Okay. If you were to see the people that I see of like that maybe have used these medications, been on these medications, sure, they're like, I lost 40 pounds, but they still have terrible autoimmune disease. Their hair is still falling out. They still have excessive fatigue. They've been diagnosed with depression. They have chronic skin issues and eczema and psoriasis. They still have IBS, right? It's like, so you're telling me you're down 40 pounds, but all the same health issues that you had before are still there? Shocker. I'm not surprised face, okay? Because what we're doing is we're lulling people into thinking that, again, if I just force your body to lose weight, all of those health conditions will go away. I am telling you right now that that is not always the case. Yes, in some situations, if someone has a lot of emotional eating patterns, stress eating patterns, they have a lot of disordered, like I said, relationship with food and a lot of binge eating patterns, food addictions, yes, these can be life-saving because it regulates them back to normal, right? Some of those like normal hunger fullness cues. But for 99% of the people that are abusing it or are being sold this guise that by losing weight, I'm automatically healthier, let me tell you that that is so far from true, especially in this new wave of chronic illness and chronic immune system dysfunction. So I mean, I'll be the first one that calls a spade a spade. Let's be real. This whole like, oh, you just need to lose weight and all of your symptoms will go away. This belief is kind of, it's old. It's outdated, it is lazy, and honestly, it's completely unequipped for this new wave of chronic illness that we're seeing, especially in chronic immune dysfunction. Now, like I said, don't get me wrong, adipose tissue, excessive fat tissue, can it be incredibly inflammatory? Yes. Can it worsen estrogen dominant symptoms and blood sugar swings and even produce inflammatory cytokines that promote immune dysregulation? Yes, but that does not mean that your weight caused your autoimmune concerns. That's not it. It does not mean that your bloat and your fatigue and your joint pain and your brain fog is because of your size. That's not true at all. Weight is not a root cause, okay? You heard it here first. Like, weight is not a root cause. It is a downstream effect. Your weight is a consequence of hormonal imbalances and gut dysfunction and mitochondrial issues and cortisol resistance and trauma and toxicity and nutrient depletion, right? And when we chase weight loss as a solution, we're bypassing all of these systems that actually need care, right? So that's what I mean is it is lazy medicine, because what I think about in my practice is, what's your cortisol curve look like? Are we flattened? Do we have a reverse cortisol curve? Where's our body overcompensating to cortisol? What's going on in the gut microbiome? Where's this inflammation coming from? What about gut permeability? What about dysbiosis? Why the heck is your immune system so overstressed and under-resourced right now? Why is your mitochondria just burned out and starving for cofactors? It's like, that is medicine. That is healthcare. Like, someone that is willing to do that investigative deep dive work, not just leave you with this blanket statement of like, oh, have you tried to eat less, move more? It's like, we need to stop using the number on a scale as the only progress metric. If that is your progress metric, when you're ignoring the things that matter most, right? What about, like I said, what are some of the more major markers to me than your weight is like, what's your secretory IgA? What's going on with your immune system? What about your liver detox pathways? What's going on with things like beta glucuronidase? What about your inflammation markers like HSCRP or your sedimentation rate? What the heck is your Dutch test look like? What about your cortisol rhythm and your overall hormone resiliency? Like, these are the markers of success, not the weight on the scale. This is exactly why I have my functional wellness consults, and I welcome individuals into a different healthcare experience, because you should not be segmented based off of a number on the scale or be made to feel like weight is a metric of success. Like, weight is a downstream symptom of what you're experiencing, not the root cause, right? Not the root cause. So I kind of went off on a tangent, but that is belief number one that we have got to unwrite from our current healthcare system. And the faster that we do that, I feel like we're actually going to get people much, much better care than just like forcing their body into some sort of weight loss and calling it healthy. No, all of the same underlying etiology of why you gain there. Okay. Lie number two, if you're still with me, lie number two is everybody, it gets put into this box of like high blood sugar and insulin resistance. And this kind of got trendy, I would say, definitely over the last 10 years or so. It's the topic of blood sugar is always telling people that they're nervous or scared of high blood sugars, and rightfully so. Do we have a big epidemic of prediabetes, type 2 diabetes? Yes, we absolutely do. And are a lot of those related to nutritional patterns and lifestyle concerns? Yes. But I'm telling you right now, the world of individuals that I have seen more individuals come into my practice treating themselves for insulin resistance and prediabetes that they do not have. Okay, because it's so pervasive that everybody is put into this box. Like, if you have weight issues, you must be insulin resistant. Or the classic one, it's like, oh, you have PCOS, so you must be insulin resistant. If I had $1 for every female that came in and has been told that they have PCOS and therefore they have gone down the rabbit hole of different dietary interventions and exercise interventions and supplemental interventions, treating themselves for insulin resistance that they do not have, I swear I'd have at least $1,000, okay? If I had $1 for every one of those people. Guys, not everybody is pre-diabetic. Not everybody has insulin resistance. And I'm telling you, is actually quite the opposite. I'm almost seeing now this epidemic swinging the other way, where we had a healthcare system that is putting everybody into that box. And now all of a sudden we're getting people that are doing excessive fasting, doing excessive keto diets, doing excessive high intensity interval training, right? All of these things that, yes, would work really well in someone that is insulin resistant, and we need to bring their blood sugars down from high to normal level. But let me get this perfectly clear. Not every energy crash, every sugar craving, every afternoon fatigue is insulin resistance. Not every weight loss concern, not every PCOS system is insulin resistant. That is not true, okay? Stop treating yourself for conditions that you do not have. But I'm telling you, that's what the internet and social media, and honestly, even a lot of my fellow functional medicine practitioners are putting everybody in this box and convincing, especially women, I'm not gonna lie, convincing women that they have insulin resistance that they do not have. So then what are they doing? They're out there shoving themselves with more protein, usually in the form of like protein shakes and like protein bars, and counting their macros and like more protein is better. And I'm like, stop, right? They're out there shoving themselves with more protein. They're cutting carbs. They're fasting longer. They're taking berberine. They're popping chromium. They're skipping meals. They're like slamming coffee because now they feel terrible, right? It's like, what you don't realize though is when you restrict food, even more, and then you over caffeinate an already stressed system, a hormone called cortisol is going to take over as your blood sugar regulator. Cortisol tells the liver to release any stored glucose just to keep you from passing out, to keep you from functioning. So when we restrict these types of things like unnecessary keto, unnecessary fasting, unnecessary HIIT workouts, unnecessary treating ourselves for insulin resistance that we don't really have, we're actually driving up cortisol. I see it every single day. These women are underfed, underrested, overtrained, oversupplemented. Absolutely. And these women are just like trying to heal. They're trying to do their best, but these high cortisol states are suppressing their immune system. So their secretory IgA just plummets, which is the first line of defense of your gut. It increases leaky gut or intestinal permeability. Hello, food reactivity and food sensitivities. It's not the food, it's your gut, which we'll get to next. It inhibits thyroid conversion. So now these women are being told, oh, I was told I had PCOS, so I treated myself for insulin resistance that I didn't really have, and now I have hypothyroidism. I'm like, that's because we over-treated ourselves for something we didn't really have. Not to mention this excessive cortisol is going to deplete glutathione. It's going to suppress melatonin, which is so huge for mitochondrial repair and immune system regulation. And so then what happens is it's not working. So they fast harder, they restrict harder, and their blood sugars are more unstable than ever. But this is not a high blood sugar issue. This is actually a blood sugar low issue. Okay. So your immune system does not become dysregulated because or let me put it this way. You're not going to treat this immune dysregulation through over compensating for insulin resistance patterns that you do not have. Okay. It does not solve your insulin issues. This is going to make everything else worse. So please make sure that if you are suspicious of blood sugar regulation issues, even like I said, in my functional wellness consults, do we do a comprehensive blood sugar analysis? Hell yes, I do, with every single person. And half the time when I'm talking about blood sugar, I actually sometimes with individuals, I'm pointing out the fact, I'm like, do you know that you probably have blood sugar lows? Do you ever feel that? And they're like, that's what I feel? I'm like, yeah, you struggle with blood sugar lows. They're like, well, someone told me I was insulin resistant once. I'm like, you're the opposite of insulin resistant. I'm like, we are struggling with lows here. You are over treating yourself for something that you do not have. And therefore you are actually causing yourself more hormonal disruption, more immune system dysregulation. So stop. Pump the brakes on everybody fitting into the box of insulin dysregulation or insulin resistance. It's just not true. Okay. Lie number 3, the final lie, the outdated belief systems that I want to just slowly die in conventional medicine because it is keeping people sick. Number 3 is that food is the problem and we're not looking at the real culprit, which is digestion. Digestive function, I will say time and time again, is the most overlooked thing that I see in my practice all the time. This is probably one that you've lived through before too, of how many times does social media or the internet, how many times do people try to convince us that it's the food? Oh, I'm bloated. It must be dairy. It's like, oh, my skin is breaking out. Oh, it must be eggs. Or, oh, I have, eczema, it must be almonds, right? And it's like, we are so quick to blame food as a source of our symptoms, when I'm telling you right now, it is not the food, but it's your body's reactivity to said food. It's about your digestion. Okay. It's one of the biggest rabbit holes that I see people spiral into, both males and females alike. They feel bloated, they feel brain fog, they feel inflamed, they feel exhausted after meals, and then they're told to eliminate the trigger. It usually starts out innocent enough. It's like, oh, I eliminated gluten. Okay, great. And then a few months later, they eliminate dairy because their symptoms are still there. And then they also eliminate eggs. And now they're eliminating lectins. And now we're looking at nightshades. And now I'm low FODMAP, and now I'm following a low histamine diet. I'm like, stop. The list just keeps growing longer. Their diets shrink smaller and smaller, and they don't feel any better. And the truth that most most practitioners won't tell you, either because they don't know or they just don't know how to help you, is that you're not sensitive to the food. You're sensitive because your digestion is dysfunctional. So, for example, here's, like I said, kind of the typical cascade. Number one is we have a low stomach acid epidemic, okay? Hypochlorhydria. And if we don't have enough stomach acid, that's going to impair protein breakdown. If we're not breaking our proteins down, now all of a sudden this food, this big chunks of undigested food, are leaving the stomach and they enter the small intestine and they start to ferment in the small intestine. Yeah, yummy, great process. Fermentation, putrefaction in the gut, and we have this like malabsorption. We end up with a lot of nutrient deficiencies like chronic low B vitamins, chronic iron deficiencies, chronic vitamin D deficiencies. People, this is not calling you to supplement more. This is to figure out, why am I chronically vitamin D deficient? Why am I chronically B vitamin deficient? Or why am I chronically iron deficient? 9 times out of 10, it's always going back to some sort of digestive capacity issue. We have low stomach acid. We have poor pancreatic enzyme flow. We have poor bile flow coming from the liver and the bile. So we are having trouble breaking down proteins, breaking down carbs, breaking down fats. And then, of course, if bile's involved, we're not detoxing well now. And these undigested food is leaving the stomach. It's getting into the small intestine. Guess where your immune system lives? In your small intestine. So we have these big chunks of undigested food coming in, and the immune system's like, excuse me, what are you? Where did you come from? Tag, 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 right? So the immune system's doing its job. We get all of these symptoms, and then we blame the food, right? It's not the food, okay? It's the state of your digestion and the state of your overall gut microbiome. So a lot of times, if there are some significant nutrient deficiency issues, there's usually always low stomach acid or some sort of leaky gut. If there is some chronic food sensitivities, usually there's always some sort of state of dysbiosis, right? If someone has a dairy sensitivity, I'm always checking them for yeast or fungal overgrowths, right? It's like, sorry, like, is this a dairy thing, or is this more of a yeast and fungal thing that nobody has actually diagnosed you with? Nobody's actually helped you figure out, right? Or if there's a gluten sensitivity, it's like, is there some Pseudomonas overgrowth going on? Is there some histamine issues going on? So it's like, it's not the food. What's going on in the gut? What's going on with the state of the digestive process? Because the food is not the enemy. And the more that we build that into our psyche, it's a very dangerous and very slippery slope. Okay, to have food, something that brings us life, something that brings us survival, something that brings us vitality and hormone production. If food becomes the enemy, that's a very, very slippery slope to more health disasters and more cortisol and more chronic immune dysregulation as well too. So that's because when the internal terrain is inflamed and impaired and overwhelmed, you're seeing the symptom, but you're not seeing the root cause of that symptom like I am when I'm doing things like gut diagnostics or blood work to really help us identify that. So for me, with the Low Down Methods holistic care system, I don't just slap a food sensitivity on and call it functional medicine and call it functional care. It's like, no, we're going to run actual digestive testing. Our goal is to figure out, why is your body not tolerating that food? Because my success marker for someone is gut resiliency. Right? Not that they have to babysit their gut with 20 different supplements and eliminate 20 different foods and then they feel okay. No, that's not success. Not at all. My success is, can you tolerate as many different foods as you want? I want you to be able to tolerate all foods so that you get to truly decide what you prefer to eat, not your body decide for you. So if your body is deciding for you, that's a problem. Okay, we have some work that we can do there, and just know that the resources exist and are available for that. Because even, like I said, if until your gut is supported, let's put it this way, until your gut is more supportive and food becomes a trigger, even clean foods are going to feel awful, right? And that's just a really slippery slope to land in. So note that when we think about these 3 outdated beliefs that are really leading to this chronic state of immune dysregulation, and what's happening is this new wave of immune dysregulation, this new definition of chronic illness is showing up in the same conventional medicine practitioners' offices, and they're getting incomplete care. They're getting dismissed, they're getting ignored because they're being told that either their symptoms are because of their body size, and we know now, like, that is a myth that needs to die in conventional medicine. Okay, this is not something to where it's like, oh, lose weight and everything goes away. It's like, no, they're gaining weight because of these underlying factors. So we need to view weight not as a source of the system, but as a symptom of the system. Okay, so weight is not a root cause. We also talked about the thought process here that more of that, like, insulin resistance pattern, right? It's like not everybody is insulin resistant, and food sensitivities are also not a root cause, right? So knowing that and hearing that, you can maybe start to relate to any of those particular beliefs. I've been told about that in the past, or I've been